Hey folks, it's let me read it off here. It's 2/11, Tuesday, the 23rd of April. It's a mild afternoon in the 60s, I think probably 64 or something. Fairly sunny, but the only difference for me is to reset the heating unit here in the room, not leaving the room. And I'd just like to say, I've had my share of, fake news today. I won't say much about it. It doesn't affect my brain the way it does Dershowitz or somebody. Although he's on the mend, I understand that he's staying at home and, trying to calm down, about what he knows or thinks he knows about the implications of all of media, and he doesn't seem to understand what the problem is for media. As I see it, a lot of problems. But there's something that could be, fake news. I don't know what to believe, but there was a report today that those plastic cards, I saw a handful of them. They seem to be Visa and MasterCard issued by a single company, a startup company in New York that the city has decided to do business with, which is handling all the payments with those numbers that are handed out. And they put roughly $300 and some odd on each card per month. And they see to it that the card is only good for authorized payments. That is, vendors whose products are keyed by number to approved items, diapers and stuff like that, and food. And other stuff is disallowed. It's fairly, labor intensive, because that involves keeping lists that are obtained from vendors for the items that are brought to the cashier. But it's doable, and of course the vendor is expected to make a profit. Also, they're not good, but approximately 2 months, because that's the maximum stay allowed in the residence where these people have these cards. But it turns out that the cards can only buy food that can't be cooked in a room in the hotel. They don't allow cooking. Cooking utensils and equipment are confiscated by the hotel, so that they're left with no way to prepare any number of foods that they could buy. And there's very little that is ready to eat. Very little ready to eat, which means that it's really a situation, it seems to me, where if somebody connects the dots, then prepared meals on a competitive basis would mean that there'd be one or two sources, cooking meals and putting it in containers that are warm, ready to eat, and within a certain time frame. I could see, something as simple as having the credit card issuers. The city is contracted to the credit card vendors, and the city can punch in a number so that the cards are valid for, certain catering, Meals on Wheels kind of places. Theoretically, I guess you could say you could find somebody for I think the daily rate of each card is good for $13.50 or something a day, $13.50 a day. Would that be good for one delivered pizza per day? Or will one or more companies compete for that $13.50 a day with some sort of good meal that would be voluntarily keyed into by the recipients, one place or another place that could vie, V-I-E, that is to say, compete for that $13.50 a day. Frankly, I see no reason why it couldn't really be a kind of Meals on Wheels situation. The people who are issued that card are known to live in the Roosevelt Hotel in New York City. Obviously, if you had a catering company with a truck, you could certainly be within, telephone range to make a delivery of quite a few, probably, to that address. Particularly if you didn't have to pound the leather or something, if you could look on your phone and locate on a map people approved to accept payments from those cards. A map app, an app with a map that shows specifically places that are vending food on wheels. There's no reason in the world why people can't compete for that. Is there some moral hazard involved, do you think? The city threw up its hands and said, we can't, provide the meals. None of that has worked out. We have this card. Now then, apparently, it's for real. That is to say, it's not just fake news. But apparently, for real, they have these cards that can pay for things. I think the assistant mayor said that no, we put guardrails on the cards. They can only pay for food and diapers. But someone going, for example, to Bloomberg's could not buy a pair of shoes with his card. If that's true, then obviously people have lists of codes for every inventory item sold within reach of these people. Probably not on wheels. In other words, these people are probably having to use shoe leather. Leaving the Roosevelt Hotel on foot to find places, whether it be a cafe or a steam table somewhere, or 7-Eleven or something that sells something ready to eat. So far, the people, they say, are buying, out of frustration, they're buying individual cold drinks and potato chips, sometimes some sandwiches, but there's not really, a good way to spend that money. It's $13.50 a day. I would think that somebody with an insulated truck could put, a dozen or two or more meals in that truck in response to a phone call or several phone calls made, probably from Obama phones, more than likely, Obama phones, and have meals delivered into the lobby of the Roosevelt Hotel. I understand the problem that the city has, people not cooperating, not delivering what the city might pay for. All right, if that means they let, something borrowed from free enterprise, if they allow, it's sort of like, people argue about tuition, schools had made all these arrangements, from banks to school treasury, the individual student didn't have a chance to bargain in his own behalf by taking cash to pay for where he or she might want or choose to go. And that was finally solved. Now we have a situation that is $13.50 a day per capita from the Roosevelt. I see no reason why somebody couldn't enterprise and solve that problem. I would think more than two people might show up in a truck, double parked, in response to however many calls were placed by owners of Obama phones. There could even be an app that you could download to your phone that would offer pictures of the meals that would be delivered. And coincidentally, they would, cost $13 per day. I envision, something like, these companies that sell huge bags of frozen French fries. They could buy that and what do you call it? Oil fryer. To fry that and then offer maybe a decent hamburger. I know there's some terrible hamburgers for sale. But there may be some good ones. So what? French fries and a hamburger for lunch, and maybe even what? A bowl of cereal and cold milk by the pint, delivered in the morning. The people in the hotel don't have anything, and they don't have a way to keep their food or cook their food. It's absurd. But a need is met. If I could arrange for Charlie B. Charlie B is a local catering place here in Aniana. If I could call them up and say, look, I can, buy 3 meals a day or 2 good meals, brunch and an afternoon meal, that would be, a meal that I would choose, not something chosen by somebody else. And it would be high quality, 2 meals a day from them. Wouldn't I do that? Well, it turns out it doesn't work out that way. They're not set up for individual deliveries, like a short order place. It would have to be, a big contract, and this place won't do it. They're not that smart. And if they did it, it'd be for huge body parts, if not whole birds and stuff. No thanks. No thanks. I'm able to buy a loaf of bread and sliced turkey breast, and the two go together rather well. And although they haven't stolen my refrigerator yet, they could do that at any time, but they've already told me they're gunning for what's on the table here, my computer and all that. And I'm just waiting for it to happen. I hope it doesn't happen. I don't know, people tell me that's a long shot, but I don't think it's a long shot. I've noticed they particularly like to do things when people say it can't be done, But anyway, Captain D's can't be doing anything like a pizza parlor, with individual meals. And if they had a contract with Olive, I'm sure the meals would be terrible. Well, that's the way it was at my apartment, So that's out of reach, but the people in New York could, I'm sure, get some sort of deal. But nobody talks about that, What was missing was some way for the city to be governed by the consumer eating the meals. Somehow they couldn't figure out a way for choice to be made, for competition to be made with the purchaser of food. And they've come up with the cards, and yet so far nobody with the power has approved of somebody with a stove ready to meet the demand that the city has created for a competition for $13 a day. People are ranting and raving and carrying on about that program. They say, oh gosh, these credit cards, they're handing out, they expect about $800 a year to get that card. It's true, I understand that the dollar amount per day comes to more than they're paying veterans. That's an abomination. They could do something similar to the card that's being issued. You know, I remember when people were yelling and screaming about the Obama phone, which has demonstrated that it has paid for itself per year 3 and 4 times over every year for every phone in terms of all the savings involved. Not to mention the ease of use and so on. And there again, there's this question about moral hazard and people who are mean-spirited. That's all. So like the people are not going to take my income here because they can. It's within discretionary power. The whole idea is that several agencies can look at my income and decide what they want to take. And now they've decided to take more than before. That is a discretionary feature. It's exactly 180 from, the way things should be in terms of discretion, as with the debit cards in New York. I have high hopes that $13 a day it would be tempting enough for someone making meals to come up probably with several varieties of what that can buy per day. Of course, that would take cooperation, and like I say, people are extremely mean-spirited. For example, they've taken away my ability to fix food and then said, we're not going to give you anything from our kitchen. Oh, and by the way, we're going to take your money, so, what we do leave you with is Patty's monumental microwave and little elves. So, there's no mystery about that. Well, I'm hoping that the people in New York can justify what they're doing in several ways, including not only the acknowledgement in theory that a market approach to the supply of food can work, but also in practical, tangible terms that it actually can work. And I'm sorry that there are other programs that are also in terrible shape, but if there isn't something good for the veterans, then the obvious solution is to ask, why not? And I'm not talking about with some sort of idle curiosity among talking heads on the radio or something, but people at their kitchen table wondering about their aunts and uncles. Why not? And turn that into questions put to elected officials. I don't know who did what to get this done for those debit cards for $13 for the homeless, but the job isn't complete until they can use that for more than a cold Pepsi and a bag of chips. So, does that story have legs? No, that story doesn't have legs. There's a certain sensationalism about the facts that I was able to glean from somebody reporting them. Unless that was a big lie, like many things are, then that means that it's a matter of matching things up. And while it potentially would be a story with legs, it probably is a story with no legs at all. If there's good news that all of that is met by what obviously is doable, or met with total failure because it proves impossible, if there really is a program that's going to last roughly 800 cards a month indefinitely, then that's worth somebody's time to write a little app for a phone, and for someone to be on on that map who can deliver according to, what, a web page that a phone can access, showing the menu and the cost. Why that isn't done is about like why the mobile vote is something that people will never even talk about in my lifetime. I'm tired, and it's a little past 2:30, and I'm going to bed. Unless I can find something to watch, and there might be some, some more fake news, with or without anything embedded. And then there'll probably be some real news that is carefully bereft of any actionable information. And that's because of the unspoken rules that obtain between us, and so on. All right, that's 21 minutes I've blabbered this way. Again, I can say have a good day. And if you know anybody willing to cut my hair for less than $28, let me know. In addition to all the rest taken from me, including, half my income or whatever it's going to be, they also announced recently, and we're excited, they say, to announce that haircuts will now involve the cash that people can fork over for them, and I won't be able to. On several levels, the answer is no.